friends, welcome to Let's Talk with Teresa Ann. I am so grateful that you are joining me on this special episode. Why is it so special? Well, this is the third part of a 3-part series that was released back in November. But the third part we couldn't release due to confidentiality reasons because my special guest were on a reality TV show, which airs tonight at 8 p.m. on E! And the show is called Botched. On this episode, you're going to see why they were on the show Botched, and it's definitely a miracle story to say the least. So before I go any further, I have to tell y'all why I'm wearing this t-shirt. So this shirt was made by a friend of mine who has an amazing ministry called thePinkLid.com for high school and college age girls. It's amazing. Well, this shirt I got a couple of years ago at one of our conferences, and this is what it says. We can't rewrite our past, but we can let God write our future. So with that said, this is what's coming up next on my interview with Alisa Hope Wagner and Christina Reninger, these beautiful, amazing, unique women who just happen to be twin sisters.
It took a course of several years for it to really get bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was all messed up on the inside.
I remember her coming to me
breathe.
saying, look, something's wrong with my nose. It's starting to twist. And I was like, no, it's fine. And then a couple months later, it's twisting a little bit.
So it was just gradually doing that.
Yeah, and then I went to ENT and had surgery, which
Through
right
her insurance.
afterwards it was really good, but then 3 weeks later it started twisting and it got even worse. To where I couldn't breathe, and it was really, it was bad.
She couldn't work out. It felt like she's breathing through a straw.
But God had promised me that I would.
That's the thing. Before her first surgery,
Wow.
the second surgery where they were correcting it, God told her specifically, you will do cartwheels because you will love it so much. But remember with Lazarus where he said, oh, the sickness is not going to end in death, but he died.
Yes.
But that's because that's not God's ending.
No.
God's ending was a resurrection. And so he told her
Come on.
that her nose would be fixed. And after surgery, it was even worse. And I was like, God, you promised her, you gave her these promises. And I said, he gave you these promises that you will do, that it'll be fixed and it'll be healed. But it had to get worse so she could get to the best surgeon in America.
Oh my goodness.
So she could give her testimony online, on television. It had to get worse because the glory would be even more. It would be God's establishing His glory.
His glory.
You know?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so woohoo! So I'm like I feel like I'm watching a movie right now. So go through these surgeries.
I love you. You're so charismatic. I love it. I feel energy.
Yes, I do too. I feel yours. So when you finally you're like, this is enough. Enough is enough.
She was going through a really painful divorce. She was being left. We're in the van. She's crying. She has her own business, which is already tough. And now you're a single mom with 3 young kids.
Yes.
Even tougher. And her oldest is autistic, so she has that kind of element
Okay.
in it. And so,
And then at the end, I was like, and to top it all off, my nose is crooked.
and so
After all this pain, I'm like, my nose is crooked.
but God gave her that promise. And so I get in the house and she's leaving, and I'm like, God, I have to be able to do something. My sister's broken. What can I do?
Aww.
And I remembered my sister-in-law telling me about a show that I had never watched up to this point about a surgery team that fixed surgeries that have been messed up, botched. And so I sit down at Google and I'm like, messed up surgery show,
Yeah.
And it brought me straight to the place to sign up, and I wrote her whole story out, pictures and all, sent
A writer.
it. And then I had to pretend that was her, because I knew if I told her, she'd say, no, don't do that. I don't want to be on it, The rich woman had him on the top of her house.
Yes.
And he said, what can I do for you? She goes, well, she said, no, nothing, I'm fine. He goes, well, you don't have a son. Let me do that for you. And the promise was so hurt to her. It was so dead to her.
Yes.
That she said, don't tease me. Don't, do that to me. And I didn't want to do that to her. I didn't want to give her this glimmer of hope for this promise that she had been given and it not come through. So I pretended like I was her and I wrote everything out and sent it, and I didn't tell her about anything until I think I got an email back, and I was like, someone might be calling you. Maybe.
Oh my gosh.
But after I wrote the whole thing, God is so good because I want to be a good steward of my time because we have such little time, and I don't want to wait. I don't want any of it to not be connected to the vine of Christ. So I prayed and I said, God, did I do the right thing? And I opened the Bible, and it was actually a devotional I was reading. He used the scripture where Peter chopped off the assistant's ear, and Jesus healed it. And God told me that's not a life or death threatening situation. He could have lived without the ear, but I healed it. He said, I'm going to use these doctors to heal your sister's nose. And at that point, my faith was set. God gave me a word despite all circumstances because they didn't let us know for 6 months. My faith was set. And I would tell her, I just said, hope I have the faith. Just rely on my faith. My faith is set.
Come on.
God gave me a word.
Come on.
So
just rely on my
just rely on my faith.
This.
My faith was set. And so I was on a cruise and I didn't have internet, but I thought, what, Christina might find out. Let me just pay for $15 to get internet. And I got all these texts. They had told her, they had told her that she was not going to be on the show.
And it was on the anniversary of my car accident, or on the anniversary of...
It was when they called her and she was doing an interview. We got a time hop from 5 years ago when my older sister Shay was taking her to surgery for her first nose
surgery. Yeah.
For her first reconstructive nose
surgery. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
Did you say 5 years?
5 years exactly.
Do you know what 5 represents in Hebrew? Is
grace.
grace.
So I was like, it's time hop. We're going to do the interview, and look, you went to surgery today, this day. So that's how you know you're doing God's will. And I think He gives us those moments, even through Facebook time hop.
Yes.
Know that I'm in this with you. Despite all circumstances, I'm in this with you.
Like all these people that are part of this story, these, as an author, you call characters, right?
He weaves it all
and he's
in.
just weaving it all in. And I love to say this because I'm currently writing a story on my mom's life.
Aww.
And, I keep hearing over and over again, Teresa, when you pray, you've been praying as though I'm catching up to you. But really, you're catching up to my story of my unfolding grace. And so now, if something bad happens, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean I'm not shaken. But that word just comes sweeping in. You're catching up to my story. And then He shows me a picture of a book. And say, we're like right in the middle of a book. And it's like right when the perfect storm comes in and everything is being wiped out and destroyed. And He says, when you read that book, Teresa, are you going to shut it? Or are you going to wait until the very end to see the victory? He's like, that's what I'm doing. Is no matter what the villain has tried to do, he doesn't win. And it's like, dang it!
That's awesome.
And I know you get that because you're a writer. So you get that. And so there's one part of, you being on Botched. Because when I ask these questions, it's just very summary driven. But I want to know, you walk in to this place, are you surrounded by producers?
Yes.
I mean, what's the initial part of the story that's happening when you walk in?
It was about how therapeutic it was.
Oh, the whole thing was really...
Because she was so busy, she did not have time to process her divorce at all.
I did, because I went from being, after the divorce, because, women usually get financially devastated through divorces, and I had to increase how much I worked, and it was really, and I was on go mode, and I had 3 little kids, and I didn't get to process it, so the whole 2 weeks there was just really therapeutic, and plus I had clients, I didn't get to focus on myself. So the whole 2 weeks there, I had her serving me. And literally, we had 5
amazing producers.
2 camera crews, production
sweet.
Company. It was humongous.
They were so sweet.
And they believed in our story.
They were
so much.
They made her talk, and and she's a therapist, and sometimes therapists are the worst
talkers.
Because they're great listeners.
Yeah.
And they don't like
she
the
had to
attention.
talk about herself.
It was so therapeutic because I talked about the divorce and I talked
And the
about
emotion
how
was raw.
the pain, and I cried, and there was one part we were talking about the scene of
I was telling her, I was like, I said, you are beautiful because you're a child of God. It doesn't matter what you do, how you look, you are just in the image of God or something gorgeous.
Yeah,
the Holy Spirit was speaking.
Yeah.
And the producer afterwards, he comes up to me and he goes, "You guys do reality show really well." I was like, "This is my life. This just happened."
It's all fake. Yeah, we're totally making these versions.
Oh, so they just like kind of played
No, they were just blown
out.
away, but they didn't realize she.
I hadn't processed any
Yeah.
of it, and so
She
like,
wouldn't
this is the
process with
first
me.
time talking about my pain.
She had to sit
and
down
so it was so raw.
with
And
cameras and lights and
Oh
talk
my
about
gosh!
her
For the
stuff.
first time, and I talked
Yeah.
about it a little bit,
Yeah.
and so it was all very raw to me, and so I'm like, just processing it for the first time, and he was like, "Man, you do reality well," and I was like, "This is my life."
Yeah, this was
my reality.
It's like real. It was
Wow.
so. But afterwards, I felt it was so there, and we would, because after my surgery, we couldn't go anywhere, so we just sat in our bed, and we talked and
Listen to scripture. We did
listened to
communion. I had us
scripture,
do communion. And the
Oh.
one thing amazing about this, which we talked about earlier, was that in her car accident, I didn't get to serve her. I didn't get to brush her hair.
Yes.
I did get to brush her hair in her car accident, but I didn't get to take her to the bathroom. I didn't get to feed her. I didn't get to stay the night with her. I didn't get to do all these things because I had a young baby and they cannot go into their rooms,
Right.
And so I remember feeling really gypped, and God allowed me to write that article, which made me feel better. But during this time, she probably had like 30 meds. I supervised her meds.
Yeah.
I fed her.
She cleaned my
I
nose.
cleaned her nose. I took her to the bathroom right when she got out. I helped her change. I wouldn't let nurses do anything. I was like, this is my redemption. I'm taking care of my sister. Not because I have to, because I'm paid for it, or because of any other reason, because I get to do it. And the cameras weren't there the day after. The days after her surgery, the cameras aren't there. So it's just
Okay.
me serving. You know what I mean? And so to me, it was such a redemption. I was like, thank you,
And
God.
I felt so
for
special,
letting me
especially
Yeah.
after a divorce, and women who are divorced probably know this. You feel like a piece of trash. You dedicate 15 years to someone, and they throw you out. And so I just felt so rejected, and just so having her pour into me, and the camera crews, and just everyone, like the attention's on, like me and just, like us, and just like my healing and stuff. And I just felt, even though God, I don't, I should, lean on His, His love for me and stuff like that. But it's so nice when you have Him doing it through other people.
Yes.
She's
like the
extremely
tangible.
extroverted. So because we're supposed to be the hands and feet of Jesus outside of us and within us. And so we relate to God differently because I'm so introverted that, hours spent in prayer is I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
And she loves doing prayer too, but she experiences God through the
other
hands
people.
and feet of people and through interactions with them and seeing God do stuff in their lives. That's what encourages her faith. There was a time when we were young Christians where we would compare each other because I'm not the person who could talk to everybody like her, and she's not the person who wants to stay at home all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we had to realize that we interact. Our relationship with God is different because He designed us differently.
Wasn't that an incredible story with my special guest, Alisa and Christina? I just loved my time with them. It was so much fun. But to really see the faithfulness of God, His redemptive story, that He is not done with us yet. He is the author and the finisher of our faith and our story. I want to say thank you so much for joining me on this week's Let's Talk with Teresa Ann. I am so grateful that you joined us on the third part of this 3-part series with Alisa and Christina. Remember, this show is about bold inspiration, revealing God's goodness. Oh yes, and one more thing. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to my YouTube channel and my podcast.